All right. Hello, 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 Miranda. This is Coach Miranda Miner doing live here in London this afternoon. Oh, what have happened to the market? Crazy, huh? Volatility is at its peak today with Bitcoin. There was a whipsaw, from a Bitcoin perspective, even gold for the past couple of hours. So, without further ado, let's just quickly go on with our quick market price review before we put our guest in our show. We're going to be talking about his experience, expertise, and insights on what's happening with the market and a lot more. Before that, Camerata, a little bit of our market price review. All right, Bitcoin currently at $83,000, Ethereum 2754. What's interesting here is that for the past 24 hours, majority, if not everything in the top 20 coins have dropped to almost 5 percentage points. Let's quickly check on gold. I'm price referencing Tether Gold today, which obviously had a drop from the past 24 hours. From an average of almost $5,500, the price dropped to almost nearing $5,000 a piece for Tether Gold. Quickly checking on the movements in our markets today. The futures market looks terrible. There's a lot of news about the market speculating that the newly selected Fed chair by Trump, Kevin Warsh, is a bit hawkish than being a dovish, and the futures market is not reacting very well with that price, with that particular news. Dow Jones, S&P, Nasdaq, um, all of the futures markets are actually on a red. Even gold is not reacting well, silver and crude oil. However, when we look at the European market here today, the market is celebrating. And of course, the Asian market, which is already on the tail end, is actually on almost mixed bag today. So what's happening with the market? This is quite interesting that we try to understand. A lot of volatility. Gold, imagine 5,500 down to 5,000. Just crazy, crazy world of volatility. My guest for tonight or today is a seasoned leader on global markets and digital finance. He's actually the CEO of CoinsPH, and obviously he came from Binance before as the previous chief finance officer. So I love what I've seen in his career. He is actually his career spans from investment banking in Goldman Sachs and held CFO roles at major tech companies. And by the way, same as Coach Miranda, he's actually had a degree in economics and East Asian Studies from Harvard University. Without further ado, let's now talk with my guest for today, my good friend, Wei. How are you, my friend?
Hey, very good. Hey, Coach. Thanks for having
Good,
me on
good.
again.
How are you? How's
I'm
New
very
Year's
good.
for a long
Yeah.
talk?
It's a bit warmer where I am versus where you are.
It is quite cold here. In fact, I need to
Yeah.
wear this thing here right now. It's quite cold today. It's crazy. All right. Hey, Wei. I'm sure you've seen this, right? This is crazy
Yeah.
market today, gold, etc. Maybe before we start with the questions, can you give me a little bit of your insight? What's happening with the market on the big macro picture, Wei? Tell us about what you think.
Chaos. 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 People are uncertain about a lot of uncertainty about the future. I think like whenever gold increases like that, and gold has had a crazy run the last 12 months, as had silver the last 3 months, I think people just are scared. I think there's a lot of fear in the market. There's a lot of uncertainty, and there's a lot of doubt about sort of what the future beholds. And I think the last sort of 24 hours specifically, I think points directly to sort of another potential shutdown in the U.S. government. So what you saw, sort of, there's a really good post by Crypto Hayes, Arthur Hayes, former founder of BitMEX. He basically said that over the last sort of like 72 hours, the U.S. government, in preparation for, maybe for a potential shutdown, they basically just pulled a lot of liquidity out of the market, and by basically hoarding on to basically money, and then and then I think that shutdown fear, I think, caused a lot of basically every asset class, because there's very rarely that you see basically all asset classes collapse, in that 5 to 10% range. I mean, these are not small asset classes. These are like $1 trillion asset classes.
That's right.
You got even Microsoft going down like 5 to 10% range. So it's just sort of like and so for sort of for us, in the crypto industry, and we are caught in all of this sort of global macro uncertainty. Yeah, so sort of that's sort of my high level view about what happened.
So just pivoting on that, right? So that's gonna be on the end of the month. How much of our market price today is driven by political issues and uncertainties? You've heard me earlier. I said about new announcement coming
Mhm.
on Fed chair. In fact, in the last FOMC conference, a lot of the questions in the first few minutes are politically charged questions to Powell, and he was not answering it actually. So, what are your thoughts on that? Is it a short term because it's a politically charged environment affecting prices?
Yeah. So I personally, I'm a big fan of the policies of the current administration in the U.S. in terms of sort of like what they've been trying to do in terms of deregulation, like especially within the crypto industry. And then in terms of sort of like pulling out of the private markets and then basically pulling government out of sort of private markets and having sort of free capital markets run, and then at the same time focusing on investing in AI and then also focusing on investing on crypto in the future. So I think, like, I'll be honest with you, that I'm actually quite positive in the sort of the medium to long term. It
Mhm.
just that sort of the markets are super jittery, given that sort of we're in this what I call almost like a regime change mindset, not in terms of like a Fed policy regime, not in terms of like we're going, but actually just sort of like a regime change in terms of like how the U.S. Sees its role in the world and the role that it's going to play in the future, right? I think that's sort of like the geopolitical nature of it, and I think it's just that every time that there's sort of these actions, geopolitical actions coming out of the U.S., sort of it just shakes the market, right? For better, for worse. A lot of times it's sort of like some action comes out, market did not expect it, market tanks. And like I like it always be reminded sort of like March last year when they went on and be like, we're gonna announce tariff, and the market tanks, right?
That's right.
And then it recover, and then if you had cash and you bought during that sort of bottom, you probably would have made pretty good money. But it's sort of like, so I just think like these kind of things happened under this administration, for some under sort of the Trump regime, for some reason much more so than any other sort of point in history. And I think that's just something you have to take into account of, just sort of like, what is your investment horizon? Are you a trader or you're an investor, right? If you're an investor and you bought gold like 2 or 3 years ago, or you bought Bitcoin 5 years ago, or you bought tech stocks like 2 years ago, or you bought Google, like you're okay. You're just holding it. You're like, I believe in my thesis. The thesis didn't change. It's just that we're in a much more volatile environment than what we're used to. Like, it's not used as like people like there's like people's like the market price in gold. Like, gold is a safe haven asset. It has
It's
always been a safe haven asset. It's not supposed to move like this, you know? It's like it's like but like, if you just sort of like not ticker watch, you'd be a happy gold holder for the last couple of years, right? But if you
right.
do ticker watch, and it's like it'll give you a heart attack.
So there's a couple of theories today.
Mhm.
When Trump obviously had a political pronouncements on outside the U.S., particularly with
Mhm.
Greenland, etc. There's a lot of jitters, if I may use your word, no, in
Mhm.
terms of the market trusting dollars today. And in fact,
Uh-huh.
when people don't trust currencies, and I know yen has its own different battle today. When people don't trust current, even central banks don't trust currencies. They supposed to hoard on gold, right?
Yeah.
But overall, you see that the backdrop today is obviously everyone's almost correlated. Gold is like, to your point, you don't see gold like acting like this is like much volatility today, right?
Yeah.
So, um, do you still see that, when this normalizes, and capital rotation happens, do you think capital will go back to crypto and altcoins, or it's going to be a hybrid or a mix of both? What are your
Yeah.
sense of that?
Yeah. I think the next evolution of crypto, like, I don't say this. There's going to be a bunch of stuff happening. I think I think if I remember last time I was on and talking to you like 3 or 4 months ago, I think we mentioned two sort of major line items that's happening in the U.S. One is the Genius Act, which actually got passed,
Mhm.
and then that has been a massive tailwind for everything that is stablecoin related, right? And every company, fintech, crypto companies that has to do with stable coins, with whether it's issuance, whether it's stable coin credit cards, whether it's stable coin lending. I think everything in that category, I think have sort of received a lot of attention, investing, price, all that stuff. But and then I think the next major piece of regulation that got through the sort of the Senate Ag Committee is the Clarity Act, which basically is the market infrastructure regulate will provide market infrastructure regulation for all of crypto within the U.S. And I think that actually will be, I think, the catalyst for Bitcoin and the alt market. And the reason being is that that really opens up the door for not just institutional money to go and trade on venues like Coinbase, right? Because right now, a lot of institutional investors cannot trade on Coinbase because it is not a quote unquote regulated marketplace, right? But if Coinbase is able to get a major part of that platform to be regulated under the CFTC, then it does become a regulated marketplace like a CME or a Chicago Board of Exchange. Then that means that institutional money can come in, right? And you're seeing every single bank in the U.S. sort of starting to offer crypto products. So I just think that the evolution of crypto is going to become institutional adoption, and I think the one is money coming in, right, and the second one I think is innovation coming out, right? And I think the like you need both of those things for the wheel to spin. Because I think the problem with the crypto right now is the wheel is not spinning. There's no new money coming in, and the innovation that we're spinning out, nobody's buying, right? And I think we're just sort of stuck in this
Right.
sort of like we need more water because that we need more money to come in. But the thing is that we also need to produce stuff, So
Right.
I think those two things are sort of what's going to drive this market next. And when you sort of look back on it, I actually think this is actually a good timing point, right? Because I have this like pretty significant. I had this just major discussion with a couple of friends of mine today about sort of like what's going to take us out of this like dullness, right? Because right now it's just dull. It's boring. There's
Yeah.
nothing
Boring.
going on, right? Like I'm bored. Like 80,000, 100,000, 80,000, 100,000. We're basically doing like ETH,
You're like a stable
2005,
coin already.
3,000, right? There's nothing, everything else down, right? It's just kind of boring. Like, doesn't matter if you're building, doesn't matter. Like, if you're not doing stable coin, you're not doing payments, like, nobody cares about you. It's just sort of like, it's just kind of like a very, like, not exciting. I think there's a lack of excitement, right? And sort of, I had this major, like, sort of like idea is like, um, the reason why I think Web3 was a thing the last 5 years is because we were doing things new, right? We were trying to give people ownership of assets that's on chain. We were trying to revolutionize social. We were trying to revolutionize art. We were trying to revolutionize the metaverse. Like, there's all of these new concepts that we're able to hit, but the problem is that none of those things really landed, right? And the reason why none of those things landed is not because the product didn't work or the tokens didn't work. It's that we basically lacked distribution. Like we did not have distribution for our applications. And then if you look at sort of the distribution point for uh, internet, it still sits in sort of like the arms of Google and Apple and Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
right? And and all three of those sort of major entities were very anti-crypto. They were anti-crypto, right? They were anti-crypto. They just were. Like you could NFTs couldn't get their apps in the app stores, right?
Right.
Like you
Even
couldn't run
Google. Yeah.
ads, right?
That's
Even like when I was at Binance, remember we couldn't get any ads on Google and Apple or Facebook. Like they were just anti-crypto. And they're anti Web3. They're anti everything that we're trying to build. And if you don't have distribution on those platforms, even if you have the best product in the world, people don't know about you,
Yeah. So
right?
so the
And this,
go-to market strategy is kind of, there's like a halt there, so to speak. There's like
yeah,
a cut there because it's not going to the masses, to the retailers for the
no,
most part.
yeah,
The
it's
critical
not
mass.
right. Like the only thing that was kind of like a little bit crazy was like the meme coin launching phase of 2024, and then that went kind of like out there just because people were trying so hard to get your attention. And the reason why people are trying so hard to get your attention is because we can't get your attention on Google or Facebook because they wouldn't let us get your and TikTok because they wouldn't let us get your attention because if you run crypto stuff, they just kick you off the platform.
That's right.
Right. So you kind of have to do really outrageous stuff to get people's attention. So I actually
Right.
think there's like a negative incentive that actually sort of like made crypto even more niche and more kind of out there vis-a-vis sort of mainstream stuff.
That's right.
Right. Like even if you look at something that Coinbase is trying to build, which is really cool, it's like a point-based app, right? Trying to build their own like app store. But Coinbase's distribution vis-a-vis like a Google App Store is like night and day. like if you can't get so sort of like I just think that and I just sort of like that's sort of like the world that we were in like all the way until sort of like this Clarity Act. That's why the reason why I think Clarity Act is really really important is because it actually legalizes Web3 applications. What is a Web3 application? Is basically a normal app plus a token attached to it, right? Like all the way up until sort of this point, it's kind of like illegal.
Right. That's
Like
true.
everywhere you go in the world, it's illegal because you can't sell tokens in your app because it's illegal. And
No,
it's a and
yeah, I think you're right because and this is going to be irregardless on whoever sits in the White House, right? I mean, if you put it into a law, right, it's going to be like when
it's going to be a lot harder to change a law vis-a-vis an executive order. Like, look, man, like you asked me a question is like, do we think geopolitics is important? Yes, it's very important. Like everybody knows the difference between an executive order and a law now.
right. It's interesting, right? I mean, I remember when Biden finished his term, most of his executive orders were like overnight turned around by Trump, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's kind of put legs to the argument, to your point. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. So let me finish my point. So like
sure.
what's going to be really interesting then, sort of like if you just sort of go down that rabbit hole a little bit with me here, is that if it's legal to issue a token within an app in the US, then why doesn't Google just come out with its own chain? And then anybody that's building apps can be on the Google chain. And then you can use all of Google's services, whether it's cloud or AI or App Store and payment. And bam, you have a token that's go to market within the Google ecosystem, right? And then the social thing that we're talking about makes sense. The gaming thing that we're talking about makes a lot of sense, right? Because then you have not just distribution, you have payments, and then you have ecosystem, you have advertising, right? Then
Which is
it's
a big
like
thing. Which is a
yeah,
big, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So that and then if you just sort of like and you go down a little bit more, you're like, huh, if that's the case, it's like if I can have my apps like in these sort of mainstream distribution points and I can run ads and bring users into my apps, then that's a lot that that makes a lot more sense than me like getting building a community, right? Because how do we grow our thing? We grew by community. We didn't because we couldn't buy ads, right?
Right.
So yeah, so it's just sort of like so for me, it's just sort of like going down the rabbit hole. Is just like I actually think it's going to be awesome. Yeah. So in the medium to long term, in the short term, I think it's just going to be a lot of volatility and fear. But I think we're going to get through it because I actually think the worst part of the cycle for crypto, I think is actually over.
Oh, that's interesting. So
Yeah.
a lot of aha moments, right? I think you kind of hit the nail right on the head when you talk about distribution, go to the market strategy. Obviously, there's like a middle. There's a missing middleman there, and to your point, when we kind of see it sort of a law already, then you have the institutions, the Facebooks of the world now not seeing sort of a stigma attached to crypto. Therefore, there's going to be more intense community participation. So,
Mhm.
so how? I mean, let me go a little bit of politics here because I'm sure you've seen it as well in your purview. Um, 2026 is interesting, at least in our perspective, because we see its midterms happening in the States, and you have Trump in the horizon can be impeached in 2027 if he does not get that support across the many states. We, in
Mhm.
fact, saw him in Iowa talking about economics. A lot of things, even Treasury secretaries talk about putting this Trump account of $5,000, $1,000 per baby born in 2026 to 2028. What is your political? I mean, not to be very political, but how important is the midterms, and how is the political landscape going to shape crypto prices, if there's anything or any effect at all?
Yeah. I'm actually I'm a big fan of Trump. I'm a big fan of what he's trying to build. I think I made this point quite clear. It's just like I think what he's doing, it's almost like if you just sort of stay status quo, like we're basically sort of going down the Ray Dalio thesis of like the end of that empire, right? But the thing is that you need to do a lot of things to sort of resuscitate the patient, and a lot of these things are kind of necessary, because I think what's going on in the U.S. today, and it goes back to sort of like why all these metals are running, is I think he's going to try to build factories in America. like he's doing something that people will be like, is it really possible to reindustrialize America? Like he's building power plants, he's building nuclear power plants, he's building like factories to build to do AI, he's doing robots. He wants to
Right.
bring manufacturing back to America. Like he's building steel plants, right? They're gonna go start doing mining of rare earth and all these, like he's reindustrializing America. And I think that's sort of like the underlying thesis is like because America in his, you know, in his mind, or in the people sort of that sort of promotes this thesis is that America's industries got hollowed out, right, and it exported its manufacturing capabilities to China, and now they don't want to do that anymore. They're like, we should reindustrialize America,
And bring them
right?
back all back home.
Just
Bring them back
bring,
home
like,
to
what
the
does
States.
that mean? I have no idea. Right, like, oh, like, are they gonna start like China style, like start having cranes and like, start building stuff, because they are, right? I mean, they're building data centers, like at least they're building data centers, like Elon Musk is building robot factories, right? And then next to data centers they're building power plants, right? So it's sort of like these things are happening, right? And I think anytime when you build things, there's like an excitement to it. Like seriously, when there's nothing there and all of a sudden 6 months later or 2 years later there's something there, people get excited,
Right.
right?
Some
And I'm just like, this guy's been in office for 1 year and he completely changed the trajectory of like, the sort of like dying empire into something like, hey, we're gonna build stuff again in America. You're like, whoa, can you? Like, can you? Like, we know China can, but can America really build stuff? Like, can you build airports? Can you build railroads? Can you build power plants? Like, can you? Can you? Like, we know China can't. Like, so it's sort of like, it's like, but the thing is you gotta like, there's a whole bunch of bureaucracies you got to cut through,
That's
right?
right. The, the,
Right.
the, the justices per state, and the things that's happening in
No,
Minneapolis and stuff.
but the thing is that what's really interesting in the U.S., like there's like, because I grew up in the U.S., right? There's like one key indicator of like people's happiness index is like, what's the price of gas?
Mhm.
Right? What is the price of gas? Right?
which is on the right track
In the
today.
red
The
states,
price of
in the
gas is,
red states,
yeah,
it's below $2 a gallon. In
that's right.
California, it's like $6 a gallon, right? But like in the red states, it's like $2 a gallon. When gas is cheap, everything else becomes cheaper,
You're right. You're right.
right? And I think it just takes time for a lot of like for some of these things to flow through, right? And then this, going back to your earlier point of like this new Fed chair, is like he's made it crystal clear that he wants rate in the 2% range, right? He made it crystal clear that 4.3 is not good. We need to get to like 2, right? And then if you think about like how American consumer is, like American consumer sits on a ton of debt, credit card debt, housing debt, car loan debt, like and if you can really lower rates, that actually puts real money back into people's pockets because their interest payments are lower, right? The government interest payment is lower, right? So
Right.
so I think that is it's as I think like the individual, whether like his historical stance is not as important as sort of like what is this administration's stance is, right? This administration stance is we think we killed inflation. We think inflation has more because we're bringing because we made gas cheap, so everything else will be cheaper, right? And we need to lower rates. And if
That's
we
right.
lower rates, then we actually return more money into people's pockets because buying house becomes cheaper, buying cars becomes cheaper, and then credit card debt becomes cheaper.
And
So
and
so
do you think it's in the bad way? I mean, do you think interest rates is good? Because based on the last time I checked, there's going to be two more FOMC meetings in the when Powell is at helm, and
yeah,
he's going to be retiring this May of this
yeah,
year. So do
yeah.
you think it's in the bag when the new
No,
Fed chair
I
comes
think
in?
it's just sort of like and like usually like this is like the I would call it like kind of not the like as like people are gonna hate me for saying like this is like the genius of Trump. It's like if you look at it historically, you gotta wait until that guy leaves and then you name the next one, right?
Mhm.
they're naming the new guy 6 months before the old guy is even gonna leave the office, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because the market will care about not now, but what's gonna happen 6 months from now, right? If they and the thing is that Powell's a lame duck. Like everybody knows he's done in May, right? So everybody's like, you know what? The next two FOMCs doesn't even matter. What we care
Okay.
about is the first one that's going to happen after this guy leaves
After
office,
May,
right?
right?
Right. So it's like because they can even the market can even sort of like build in what they think the future is, right? And price everything backwards from there, right? So if the market's like this guy comes out like so like he's basically like the beauty of this move by naming this Fed chair like so early,
Hmm.
he basically made Jerome Powell irrelevant. People are like, oh, we don't care about Jerome Powell anymore. He's gonna be gone in May. What is it, like 4 months from now? We don't care anymore, right? The new guy is going to be our Fed chair for 5 more years. So whatever this guy says becomes the law of the land, not this old guy. This old guy's done. So it's just like that's like the beauty of like this move that he's like basically, oh Jerome, you won't listen to what I tell you. I'm gonna make you irrelevant, right? You're on mute, bro.
I think not to mention the executive DOJ in the states have filed a case against the Fed because of that building, which is I think to the tune of $2 billion, right? So I
Yeah,
think there's kind of
I think
setting
that's just
effect there.
noise. I think that's just distraction.
Yeah.
I think that's just like that's there's like the really the really interesting part of what's going on with this Trump is that you have to sort of like dig a little bit dig a little bit to figure out like the substance from the noise. I think that one's just noise.
Mhm.
Right? That one's just noise. That's
Interesting.
just like yeah. That one's like probably because once you name the new guy, the old guy doesn't matter
It's going to be
anymore.
a moot, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting. Right. So let's kind of go back a bit with this market structure bill, right? So it was supposed to be there was a markup hearing in the committee level. It's supposed to be up for a plenary vote. Based on our research, it's going to be on Monday. White House is going to make them talk together, the banks and the crypto folks, about what's inside the structure bill. What's interesting here is that there's notion that it's going to the banks predominantly are against the structure bill. I think it's gonna affect something about stablecoin, etc. But to your point, based on what your answer earlier, it's gonna help long term to create institutional lens and adoption. What are your thoughts? Because last time I checked, I'm not sure if you've heard about it. It was Coinbase who's really not in a good mood, sitting down and supporting structure bill. When in fact they were at the background for the many of these discussions before. What are you hearing, Wei, in terms of the progress? And is there still a possibility that this might not pass?
I think it's gonna get passed. I think it's gonna get passed, and then even if they have stuff that Coinbase doesn't like, I think it's still gonna get passed. I think the tricky thing about the stablecoin thing is that in the last bill, it basically said that stablecoin issuers cannot give yield, right?
Mhm.
So that sort of like protects the net as like that really protects the net interest income that the existing banks in the US have, right? Like you get 0% interest on your deposits, and then the bank gets like 4% when they take your deposit and go buy T-bills with it, right? So the bank makes this like pretty massive net interest rate margin, right? And then with the stablecoin thing, is like if stablecoin issuers can pay the yield back to the holders, then why the heck would you have your money in a bank? You just hold stable coins. You're gonna get your two, like even if you get half of it, then you'd have zero reason, right? So I think, and then but the funny thing is that the banking industry kind of agreed to that model, such that stablecoin issuers cannot pay yield on it, but then institutions that where the users hold their stable coins can pay yield on it, right? So if you hold USDC on Coinbase, Coinbase can give you 1%, 2% on it, right? And the bank's like, oh shoot, we forgot about that. Let's get rid of that in our new bill as well. So the bank lobbying is trying to add this, like, okay, guys like Coinbase can't pay the yield on that stable coin, like, back to their users as well, because Coinbase gets half of USDC's, like, yield, right?
That's right.
So
You have a
so the
growing
bank's like, let's
stablecoin
kill,
industry.
yeah, so the bank's like, let's kill that loophole. So Coinbase is like, wait a minute, this is like one of our top user acquisition channels by paying yield on your stablecoin on Coinbase. So I think this is like a very specific Coinbase issue, right? Because and I actually think, like, you know what, like, that's not the point of the market infrastructure bill. The point of the market infrastructure bill is to sort of segregate the duties from CFTC and SEC, right? And then also say, at what point does when I'm an app, like if when I launch a token, like at what point do I follow security law, and at what point do I have this sort of this sandbox to do whatever the heck I want, right? Like until I get big enough such that I have to go follow SEC, right? And I think that so I mean, I think either, like, what the most likely is, like, this banking thing is going to get taken out, and then they'll like discuss it in amending sort of maybe the stablecoin bill, and then have the sort of the market infrastructure bill, the clearing bill, focus just on sort of the segregation of duty between the CFTC and the SEC, and then basically put cryptocurrency exchanges in the US under the CFTC from a regulatory guide, from a regulation perspective.
So it's gonna pass without that, issue on the stablecoin thing.
I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't have clarity on that. I think I think they're just gonna strike these, like the way sort of this Republicans are working is they're just gonna get this thing passed along party lines.
Yeah.
And because this was one of sort of the promises that Trump made, right? It's
right.
like, and then it's like, well, and then he's going around and says, like, promises made, promises kept, right? You want your stable coin, you got your stable coin. You want your Bitcoin, you got your Bitcoin, right? Like, so and then it goes back to your first point, is like, midterms coming, right? He's want to go around to all of his supporters, be like, promises made, promises kept. So,
no, you're right. I remember when he was campaigning. To be honest, I don't know. I don't think he knows about crypto until Elon Musk tells him, "Hey, 30% of your voters have crypto." Then all of a sudden, July of last year, he was crying. His battle cry was in front of Nashville. Hey, we'll make US as a crypto capital of the world. And all the crypto, bros were like, let's sell and vote Trump, right? So it really interesting. So a lot of things we have discussed already, but I just wanted to kind of go back to the point that I have here in my list. Way, granted, there's a lot of volatility. It's always volatility is always present in any market cycles, right? And I believe that this will kind of mellow down a bit. The dust will settle, etc. When dust settles, right? Bitcoin price trajectory. I don't normally ask this, but I gotta try to ask you. Price trajectory of Bitcoin and a potential forecast on price. When dust settles, you have government regulators all supporting crypto. The guy sitting in the White House is pro crypto. You have the market structure bill and blah, blah, blah. Forecast 2027, 2026. What do you think is the price for Bitcoin?
Look, dude, like, I thought the price was going to be 250,000 by the end of 2026. that was my idea, and I don't think I'm wrong. I just think that we got veered off the pathway a little bit, and I think we'll get back to that trajectory this year. So my price target for this year, I think, is just basically still like 200,000 by the end of this year. Maybe even go back to and then I think we're just sort of in this how do I want to say this? We're in this sort of like confidence rebuilding phase. And I think there's a lot of things that need to happen. I think before sort of like people rebuild their confidence and rebuild their bag in our sort of like crypto only world, right? And I think I'm not sure if you've been following crypto Twitter the last
I
48
I
hours.
I know where you're going, man. I know where you're going.
Yeah.
That needs
So
to that needs to
yeah.
turn around, way.
Yeah, I mean, I just think there's been a lot of wealth destruction in our world, and I think that's real wealth. Real wealth destruction.
That's right.
For no fault of investors. I think it's actually, and I think that wealth destruction, really not lag, pulled us back, vis-a-vis other asset classes. I think that's something you have to understand, right? And that's something that Kathy Wood made a point on, is that
That's right.
people that were investors in our asset class
They were hurt.
got their money basically got their wealth taken away, right? Like if you're like, because there's specific asset class investors, right? It's like when CZ is debating the gold guy, it's like the gold guy is like blah 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 blah, right? And then that's an asset class, right? So if you're invested in that asset class, you're pretty happy, right? Everybody that was invested in our asset class was pretty happy until all of our money got zapped. So I think so. People who are invested in our asset class are collectively poorer today than they were like 12 months ago. And because you have no more, like you got to rebuild your stuff, right? And the thing is that that's why you see so many crypto exchanges listing equity, listing metals, right?
Yeah,
Like crypto exchanges, like crypto
that's right.
exchanges.
Yeah, even Tether Gold, silver, that's where liquidity is, right?
Mhm. So we're basically like venturing out of our asset class to basically explore other people's, to explore other asset classes, which gives me supreme confidence in sort of like the survivability of crypto investors. And just sort of like so for us, I just think that stuff should happen. It'll take a while, I think, for us to come back to that path, right? With sort of these structural changes in regulation and institutional capital and innovation, I think money and innovation will come back into our space. So I'm still super bullish on the long-term thesis of Bitcoin, right? And it's just that the venue in which Bitcoin is traded, people gotta have confidence in that venue. I think that's the biggest problem, right? It's like when an industry leader, my former employer, who's a 40% market share in the market, when people lose confidence in that core piece of infrastructure, it's gonna take a while,
It is, yeah.
right? It's gonna take a while because it's just sort of like, oh, I don't trust trading on Nasdaq anymore. Why? Because Nasdaq will liquidate me, if they don't like what I say, right? Like that's challenging. That's really challenging for existing people to rebuild that trust, and that's really challenging for new players, especially like big money. Be like, I don't like I will only put my money into a regulated marketplace,
But
where
isn't
I
it
know.
not becoming sort of an ad hominem, meaning they're attacking the person, not the issue? I mean, the issue needs to be fixed, right? I mean,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
think it goes back to your point. The confidence can be built, but something's got to be done, right?
and I think like if you look at so the thing is, if you look at the history of money, this kind of shit happened like in the early days of stock markets, right? Like and you know what happened? Regulation happened. You know what
That's
happened? Regulation happens. People started behaving by the rules. You know what happens when people started behaving by the rules? You have a normal marketplace where people don't try to rip each other off.
No, I mean,
So,
there's writings
yeah,
in the walls all over, right? I
yeah,
mean, I think regulation is aim, and I mentioned this in my community with all of the,
yeah.
the BS happening today. We cannot not have regulation because it's going to be a room full of fools talking about different things and without someone regulating them, right?
No,
Um,
I think like if crypto is going to grow, right? Like we from a $3 trillion asset class to a $10 trillion asset class to a $100 trillion asset class, I think you're going to need guardrails, right?
That's
You
right.
don't need guardrails to, because the guardrails are not there to sort of, to make life hard for people. The guardrails there to protect people, right? Because we know that there are liars and cheaters in the world, right?
Right. Especially if
And
there's
there
some
are,
money in the circle, right? Money in the
yeah,
table, and you have all different personalities there.
yeah. And then people who do bad things need to have, bad consequences happen to them, right? You can't sort of like rug a project, run away with $3 million and have no consequences to you, to anything you do. So you come back 3 years later and rug another one, right? Like there's got to be consequences, right? Like it's like if you're a founder, you founded and then you scammed investors, like they're not going to invest in you anymore. But in crypto, people come back to the tap, right? So just sort of like I just think that there are certain things that need to happen for confidence to come back, and there's certain things that need to happen from an infrastructure level to rebuild that confidence. And a lot of it has to do sort of, and then I think this is one of the positive things that I kind of see out of the last 40 hours is that I really hope like Binance and CZ sort of take the feedback and build a better system, right? And I have confidence that they will, because I've seen it happen many times. Like, we are like, one of the missions is to to deliver the freedom of money to everyone in the world, right? And I think that mission, unless that mission changed after I left, but I don't think it has. I just think that their mind and their head and their heart in the right place. It's just a matter of like fixing things to rebuild that confidence. And I think if Binance is able to rebuild confidence and trust, then I think that's actually really good for everybody in the industry.
No, I think I'm going in that direction too. Like what I
Yeah.
said, I mean,
So
if
I went there already, man. I jumped in.
no, I mean, we fix the issue, right? Not just fixing, the guy who's obviously the famous today in the past 48 hours in Twitter. Yeah, so I mean, it's 40 minutes away. I know you're a busy man. Just kind of go with the wrap up questions here.
No, it's all good. I got time for you, brother.
Well, it's still 12 noon here in London. We can still go with the next 8 hours if you no, but kind of put in context here, and then if you are new to my channel, Cameron, I'm actually talking to obviously the CEO of CoinsPH, a good friend of mine, Wei,
Oh,
former CEO of
hey, Coach,
Binance. Sure.
can I give five? Can you give me 5 minutes to rant about the Philippines market? Can you give me five
Oh, like
minutes?
that's probably gonna be a one whole episode, man. Oh my god. I dedicate one whole episode just to talk about my country.
Yeah, as an outsider, I feel like I've become a native the last 4 years that I've been running coins. And then I actually have a lot of and then, and I got added to like this AI council, and then like everybody's been trying to add me to their blockchain council, right? Because you see what they're trying to bring. They're trying to use blockchain to, and I'm like, I'll support you, but I'm not gonna give. I don't want to be any counsel, because I just feel like you're not gonna get anything done, right? Like it's like I'd rather build things and get things done that way, rather than sort of like going to government conventions for like 30 days a year. Those things. But
Tell me about it.
anyhow, yeah. There's a lot of I actually think I actually like I'm cautiously what is it? I'm actually very optimistic. I'm an optimistic person, and then I think there's a lot of things on the technology front. I think if executed correctly, can be really helpful. The big question is if, and I think that's always been the case. It's just that I kind of have like a fresh set of eyes that I can point to sort of different areas. Yeah. So I had a joke the other day that like Philippines needs a Javier Milei.
Say it one more time. Javier, what?
Philippines needs a Javier Milei. You know, the Argentina guy,
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
crazy
yeah.
guy that takes a buzzsaw and just cuts everything.
Yeah.
Like we need that in the
Like
Philippines.
do action, action, action.
Yeah, just cut things. Just cut the bureaucracy. Yeah.
I have a trivia. Since we're in that topic, I have a trivia for you. Do you know? This is a running joke that I have when I was in the university. Um,
Mhm.
the if you ask me the bureaucracy for the Department of Education in the Philippines, the org structure is 3 stories high. If you put the structure in a wall, from the admin to the that's bureaucracy out there. Anyways, hey, wait. My community is asking. I see couple of questions in the chat room today. So obviously, there's a lot of things happening, volatility, political issues, etc. How would you normalize your projections 250K earlier? Is there anything that has changed that you think that you need to bring it down, make it more conservative, or you're still sticking with the 250 at the end of the year?
I think after the market, when the market infrastructure go gets passed, I think we're gonna see some pretty nice actions with Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I would focus just on those two major coins for the time being, because those are the two major coins that have institutional awareness. Like one thing that's kind of not surprising, but one thing that's been kind of pleasant for us is that if you look at like Ethereum price has actually held up much better, like I think vis-a-vis Bitcoin, right? And I think just like and going back to sort of like what I said about if Google comes in, we're gonna see this proliferation of apps and tokens. And Ethereum sort of sits directly opposite of Google. Like Google is a sort of centralized ecosystem, and you basically have the decentralized ecosystem of Ethereum that counters sort of like, and I think that's actually not bad. And then a lot of sort of stable coin related stuff that I see happening in the US are all happening sort of within sort of the Ethereum ecosystem. So I'm actually pretty positive about that ecosystem, and it goes back to sort of like like what Vitalik is focused on, right? Sort of decentralization, and the next wave, which is privacy. I think if Ethereum can execute, it's already executed on decentralization. I think if they can execute on zero knowledge proof and privacy, I'm actually very positive on Ethereum. Even like I'm more positive on Ethereum in the short term, and I remain bullish on Bitcoin in the long term.
And by the way, in the crypto structure bill, they said one of the stipulation is they wanted to consider amending the 1933 securities code, and that specifically focuses on Bitcoin and Ethereum
Yeah.
for them not to be classified as. So basically, they're amending security code definition, which is huge.
So like these two are not securities, like they are commodities,
That's right.
and the trading of them will be with the commodities regulator, which is CFTC, right, and not the SEC. And I think that makes it very clear that these two assets are not securities, which give them a wider scope in terms of trading and trading activity. Yeah, and going back to sort of Bitcoin specifically, I'm in paying with everybody else. Like I don't own any gold. Like maybe some physical gold that my parents gave me for my kids, or I bought for my kids. I don't own any physical gold. I don't own any like gold ETFs. I'm still holding on to my Bitcoin. And it kind of sucks. Like I just want to say the feeling kind of sucks when I have peers be like, "Oh, I sold my Bitcoin. I bought gold." I'm like, "Fuck you." Go away, man. Let me go away. Stop bothering me. I'm gonna hold on to it because I'm a believer, right? And I think like and even just from a pricing perspective, I think Bitcoin is the how do I say this the like one idea or one podcast I listen to is basically is like Bitcoin is like the if gold is like the safe haven asset in sort of the traditional world, then Bitcoin is a safe haven asset in the AI world. And I think it's just because like sort of and I think that's something that's it'll take time to sort of for that thesis to build. But I think when that concept becomes an idea, and that idea becomes popularly adopted, and then it becomes a motto, and then it becomes a religion, I think that's when you get the next big re-rating on Bitcoin. Yeah.
Right. And again, it goes back to the point of clarity, confidence to the system,
Mhm.
to the
Yeah.
people within the infrastructure. All right. Hey, Wei, I know you're, again, I think we're like in an hour already. To kind of wrap it up, are you in anything interesting? Are you going to the Token 2014 again in Dubai? I'm sure you are, but anything interesting in the next 30 days on your conferences? You're a busy man. Are you going to be in New York again? What's up with you
Yeah,
in the next?
I'll be in Consensus Hong Kong, and I'll be speaking there on February 12th. And then for coins specifically, we're gonna become a sponsor at Money 2020. I think in Asia and maybe even potentially in US and Europe as well. I think for us, we want to become the key channel for for the Filipino community, both in the Philippines but also outside of the Philippines. We want to make it like free for you to move money, So and I think the other thing is that I think for coins, like I think the new motto is like send, invest, save, and invest. I think we want to have products on all three of those fronts. I think right now we have invest, but we don't have like save, right? We want to come out with savings products, which are basically yield bearing products for stable coins and deposits. And we want to make it, we want both users and businesses to be able to use coins to send money as well. So I think send, save, and invest. I think those are the things that we're gonna build. And then I do believe that blockchain is going to rewire the way money moves. And then I think like we're just at the early stage of that. And I think, from an investing perspective for your community, I would just I would say, um, when there's a Chinese saying, it's like when the East doesn't light up, the West side lights up. Right? Like if crypto is kind of dead right now, like go look at some other stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like we are investors, like we are traders, right? Like we look at things, we find signals, we look at asset classes, right? Like if the trend is against you in one area, like it's like if there's no waves over here for you to ride, go over here to find waves to ride, right?
Yeah.
And I do think that sort of the secular things that we're seeing in metal, like because it goes back to sort of like what I said about the reindustrialization of America. It's like they're gonna need a lot of stuff to build stuff, right? And that's why I think we're seeing this run in metals. I think that's one of the topics I think we want to talk about a little bit. Is that like when China was rebuilding, like cement prices went up, like iron prices went up. All these metals you never heard of, they all went up. I think the similar is going to be true as America reindustrializes.
All right. By the way, I was supposed to be in Consensus Hong Kong. I have tickets done, but I'm stuck here in London for my master's.
Good luck.
I'll hope to see you in one of the events in the future. On that note, thank you again, Wei, a good friend of mine, for being here with us live in Singapore. Thank you for the wisdom and insights. I learned a lot in this interview, and hope to have you again in our future conversations.
Of
Thank you so
course,
much.
always a good time. Thanks, Coach. See you soon, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Woo! That was a good interview. I learned a lot, Kamiranda. I hope you do. A couple of things lang for me that I learned. Number one, um, the distribution channels. No, it's a good aha moment. No, I think that was a good aha moment because we need the help of those big distribution channels, which is the Googles of the world, the Facebooks of the world. Do you know until today? I'm not sure if you know, huh? Okay, type one if you don't know. Do you know that whenever we advertise in Facebook, and we are a crypto trading company, all of our advertisements are blocked if you have the word crypto. You know, type one if it's an aha moment for you. Just give me a second, Kamiranda. So it's an aha moment for me, no, that he raised a very good point. I think the distribution of crypto, the messaging to the masses, the critical mass, it's still pending because you cannot even advertise crypto. Google has a lot of regulations in terms of what's gonna be in their in their browser, and then of course you have listing in Apple or Google Play, right? So I think it's a very good point which I learned today. Number two, I like what he said about the crypto structure bill, no? I like how he framed it, no, in the sense that, you know, this is gonna be a chicken and well, not chicken and egg, but it's gonna be a banking versus crypto world, eh. Kasi totoo nga naman, I'll speak in Tagalog, if you allow this to happen and you don't have interest rates in stable, you don't have yields on stable coins, then why would I even go to crypto? I'll just go to the bank because I earn billions of money, can earn interest on treasuries, blah, 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 blah. And you don't earn anything on stable coin. Therefore, it would somehow kill the industry of crypto overall. No? So, doon papasok yung mindset na okay, pang mga kapitalista lang talaga tong structure bill na to. Therefore, tingin ko maganda yung basa niya doon sa nangyayari sa crypto structure, no. And I think he also, and I kind of agree with him, no, na to, pumunta kayo sa Twitter ngayon, naku, nagkakagulo ang crypto world. Naku, talagang binibiran nila ngayon si CC for the past 48 hours kasi nga si kahapon in interview si Cathy Wood, sinasabi niya ngayon na ang pagbagsak ng crypto noong October 10 is because of the glitch na nangyari in Binance. Almost $25 billion got liquidated. No? And ngayon lumabas na yung SAFU fund na 1 billion, babayaran na daw yung mga technically na liquidate kahit hindi naman talaga for liquidation kasi may glitch nga sila. Number two, may nag-post ng graph. Lahat ng inilista nila kay Innovation Zone, bagsakan lahat. So parang sinasabi niyang, kinu-question nila ngayon, bakit CZ, you keep on saying buy on hold, samantalang yung listing mo, Innovation Zone mo, puro pula. So are you just trying to get money from the crypto world? Parang gano'n na nangyayari. So kayo, siguro bilang my community, lesson learned yon, no, na actually kahit ako every time I post, I tweet, talagang gusto ko talagang lagyan ng okay, kalma lang, wag pasok, 'di ba? You guys know that. Type number 1 kung nakita niyo mga ganung post ka na kalma, 'di ba? Plan your trade kasi ganoon naman talaga dapat. Dapat ang investment mindset natin, hindi tayo puro all in ng all in. May mga pagkakataon, sabi nga rin ni CZ kanina, ni Wei, when the sun does not shine on the east, it shines on the west. Kumaga, kung pangit, then hahanap tayo ng iba. In this case, gumaganda nga yung silver and gold. Then I've been talking to the exchanges. I'm not sure if you know, but I've been talking to them. Ilagay nyo na si gold. Ilagay nyo na si silver sa exchanges para meron na kami matrade. Kasi para na nga sa tagal ng trading world, stable coin na si Bitcoin. Di ba? So, at the end of the day, Miranda, ganon. Just give me a second. Wait lang po. Medyo ang lamig kasi dito sa London. Give me a second po. Wait lang po. O yun, sabi nga ni Bob, marami na kayo na interview, hindi ko pinapa-invest agad. That's the right thing. Meron pa nga ng away sa akin dito na sa dulo, tinagalog ko, sabi ko, huwag kayong diba? Inaway yun. Sabi, ba't ka nagsasabi na in-interview mo kami, tapos sa dulo, sabi mo, bawal kayo mag-invest. Naramdaman ko na mag-rug pull ka eh. Ganun talaga sasabihin ko, pasensya ka na. Pero, sisihin ako ng community ko. Ngayon, paalala ko lagi, 'di ba? Si Bitcoin 90, 80 na ngayon. Talagang ini-expect naman natin niya, balikan yung mga previous live ko. In fact, 3 days ago ganun na sinasabi ko, mag-80 yan kasi kailangan mag-right hand, 'di ba? True enough, no, nag-80 naging 83 agad. So, mamaya siguro mga 10 minutes mag-technicals tayo na mabilis. Pero kung to wrap up the discussion today, marami akong wisdom na nakuha sa kanya at sa palagay ko, remove the personality on the discussion. Look at what he is saying. Yung sinasabi niya ba, nagme-make sense ba sa inyo? And I think he's coming from a place of concern. Kasi nga, syempre marami rin pinag-aralan yung mama. He has a economics degree in Harvard, Miranda. So hindi siya maliit na tao, matalino to. So, kaya nga nag-aaral ako ng economics kasi para matutunan ko din yung magsasabi nila. Diba? So anyways, so couple of updates lang kami, Miranda. Unang-una, napaka-volatile ng market. Huwag niyo munang saluhin yung mga pula, no? Today is volatile kasi nag-announce po si Trump, no, ng bagong Fed chair candidate out of the 5 candidates, si Kevin Warsh. So, konting history. Si Kevin Warsh kasi, kaya nagdidiwang ang Europe ngayon kasi parang sinasabi ng Europe, oh, buti nga sa inyo. Si Kevin Warsh na pili. Yung pulahan ngayon, open na ba ang US market? Hindi pa. Kumalma kayo kasi pag nag-open yan, pula yan. Pula yan. Pag nag-open ng US market, pula yan, Miranda, sinasabi ko sa inyo. So, medyo kalma kayo, ha. Pwedeng, let me just quickly check on the pre-market numbers, no? Teka lang, type 1 ko, nandiyan pa kayo, nakikinig pa kayo sa akin, baka nawala na kayo, Miranda. The pre-market numbers are, well, it's a mixed bag right now. The pre-market numbers are a mixed bag, you know. Pero, huy, teka lang, ha. Alphabet, Meta, puro mga index, pulahan, no? Microsoft green, Tesla green, Apple. Oh, teka lang, kumalma kayo. Even Nvidia, pulahan. So, pulahan ng mga index ngayon. Pwedeng manghila to mamaya pag nag-open, when the market opens at 10:30, when the US market opens, kalma kayo, ha. The market can pull this down. Even magkaroon ng second wave ito, no? Okay. So Europe green, sabi niya, okay, bahala kayo dyan sa US, Asia. So itong si wala pa. So pag nag-open yan, kalma. Type number 1 kung you understand what Coach Miranda is trying to say. Okay. Okay, next. Bakit niya pinili si Kev? Bakit nagpupula? Bakit pula ang market, no? Bakit nagpupula ang futures? Take a look at the futures rates, no? Ang Nasdaq futures, ayan, pulahan lahat even, no? Ayan. Isabihin ng futures, hindi pa nag-open yung market, ito na yung potential indicator mo kung ano mangyayari sa market when it opens. Kasi these are also futures market, no? Trading the same index. So, bakit pulahan? Ito kasi nangyayari dyan. Si Kevin Warsh kasi historically, hawkish siya. Ibig sabihin ng hawkish, puro interest rate ang gusto niyang gawin. Kaya nagpupulahan ngayon. Kasi, ina-expect ng tao yung isang Kevin, ang isang Kevin na mapipili. Hindi itong Kevin Warsh na to. Bakit? Historically kasi si Kevin Warsh, pro interest rate increase yan. Di ba ayaw ni Trump ng interest rate increase? So yung market natakot nung in-announce niya, okay, mag-a-announce ako ng ng bagong Fed chair. Syempre, it's almost like your baptism of fire doon sa mama. At kapag ang presidente ng US na nagsabi, syempre matatakot ang maniniwala yung market. Therefore, natakot yung market. 'Di ba? Kaya nga sinasabi kanina ni Wei, speculation, 'di ba? For me, I agree. This is a market reacting negatively, but it does not mean it's the trend. This is the market volatility because there's a news. Tama nga ako. Hindi ito correction technical. This is not about that. This is because someone knew. Tingin ko yung whale na nag-short, tingin ko alam niya may mangyayaring ganitong balita. Feeling ko nga kaibigan ni Trump yun kasi alam niya mag-a-announce si Trump ng Bakit? Tingnan yung balita Nag-short yung mama 28. 29 sinabi ni Trump, mag-a-announce ako ng bagong Fed chair kinabukasan. Boom, bagsakan, di ba? Those are just theories, no? But again, at the end of the day, yun yung nangyari. Bakit bumagsak ang Bitcoin? Kasi ang Bitcoin apektado ng interest rate. So when you put a name na pro interest rate, ang buong merkado matatakot, hindi lang ang index, hindi lang ang gold, hindi lang ang silver, hindi lang ang Bitcoin. So kaya nagkaroon ng pulahan 'yon, di ba? Technically speaking, yung technicals natin, i-discuss ko na para dire-diretso na tayo, Miranda. All right, sige, pa-type 1 naman, pa-type 1. Thank you.
The technical analysis for the crypto market traders live with Coach Miranda Miner.
Okay, let's actually now go with our technical analysis, Miranda. Just give me a second na ayusin ko lang tong screen ko. Okay? Alright. So technically speaking, tingnan nyo tong screen ni Coach Miranda, no? Type 1 kung nakikita na po. Okay, type 1. Okay, para make sure na ayan. Okay, yan. So type 1. Okay. So technically mapapansin mo yung dalawang green na arrow na nakatutok, yan po yung support natin. So nasa 80 yan. So, 'di ba kakahataw lang niya nasa 81, hindi. Ang huling hinataw nito is hindi pa umabot no, nasa 80 tapos 900. Pero yung previous kasing candle umabot ng ano ba to? OKX. Let's go to the Binance World. Just give me a second. BTC USD. Let's go to Binance. Kunin ko yung Binance na candle. Okay. Tama. Okay. Makes sense. Tama rin. So, nasa 80 mil tapos 600, no? So, therefore, ibig sabihin lang nun, so, hindi pa natin talaga tinatamaan yung previous support, no? So, kahit mag-82, huwag nyo munang kalmahin nyo muna, kalamahin nyo yung sarili nyo. Tapos, mas magandang intayin din, no? Kung nagsiscalp kayo, go ahead. Pero para sa akin, na mas magandang intayin, gawa to ng reversal. Kasi pwede mo itong humalik ng 80,600, no? So, pwede niya pang halikan ito ulit. So, mas magandang gawin nito, gawa siya ng reversal. So, pwedeng isa, dalawa, tatlo. Gawin mong neckline yung 84. Mas may kumpiyansa ako pag ginawa niyang reversal pattern yung baba. No? Otherwise, normal na mag-conso because papa-open pa lang ang US market. Ha? Take note po natin yan, Miranda. Tapos, importante itong support na 80 kasi ay ang pinaka-historical support na hindi imposibleng abutin itong area na to. Wag naman sanang abutin. Okay? 74. Okay? Pag dyan, yan, marami nag-aantay na buy order dyan sa 74. So, pwede niya pa rin hatawin yun, no? So, it is a pure technical play. It can happen, but as I've said, nangyari na yan before. No, this was April 2025 nung sinabi ni Trump na manghahataw siya ng tariff, no, even on China, only to recover nung sinabi niyang kakalma na siya. So, technically, you have the market giving you an 82 and another potential 74, but anything can still happen on this market, Miranda. When I come back, let's talk about gold. All right? Give me a second.
A technical analysis for the crypto market traders live with Coach Miranda Miner.
Alright, si gold, Miranda, is a product of that volatility earlier. No? I've been trying to figure out saan to bababa. Pero since naka-selling pressure pa din si Kuya Gold, no, kalmahan nyo muna. Huwag nyo munang saluhin kung nag-i-intraday trade kayo. No? Huwag nyo munang saluhin kasi technically, dapat nasa 5,000 siya nag-support eh. The 5,000 is the psychological resistance and support. Pero humataw siya ng halos 49,941. So hanggat hindi ito gumagawa ng reversal play, katulad ng, for example, okay, you have the support, no? So kailangan meron tayong basaging kahit anong lower high on this particular trend, no? Malayo pa naman 'yan. Pero hanggat pababa siya, wala pang neckline. Hanggat walang neckline, so there's always still a tendency for this market to create a lower lows, no? So the market from a trend perspective gumagawa ng almost a whipsaw because talagang ang laki ng binaba niya from 5.6 to 4.9. So this is something that can potentially be affected by the US open market maya-maya. The market can still consider na tapos na kasi nagsimula na yung baba kanina, pwedeng i-recover ng market ito. The market can create a buying spree kasi sabi nila, uy, nag-open yung market ng Biyernes, mababa na ang price. Kasi you need to remember, this price movement is when the US market is closed. So when the market is open, they can do the reverse. No? So anything can happen at the open of US hours. Can you please type number 1? Miranda, thank you, thank you. Alright, so yun po ang aking, yung silver, it will correlate with gold, Miranda, no? XAG is going to correlate with gold. Meron siyang TLSBD na ginawa ngayon, pero I'm charting the the XAG USDT. No, so ito yung crypto equivalent. The non-crypto equivalent is the same pero iba yung kanyang galaw, iba yung kanyang chart kasi mas mahaba ito. Okay, so the market can potentially price in a support within this particular area, but this can have a correlated move, no, overall with gold, no. So this one can become your can be considered as your support. Then humalik na naman siya. So the market can potentially price in a bounce, pero as I've said, antayin po natin ito maya-maya. Okay? When the market opens at 9:30. So pag nagkaroon ng reversal, at least in my opinion, then you could do an intraday play. But for me overall, tingin ko tama, no? Tama yung sinasabi ni Wei, no, that I think overall this is a volatility at play, no. Marami namang ganyan historically, hindi na iba yan. And tama rin yung sinasabi niya sa market structure bill. Naniniwala ako doon kasi nga this can panoorin niyo na lang yung yung banter namin dalawa ni Wei, pero nag-agree ako na dapat naman talaga na maging batas ito, Miranda. Ha? Okay. Nakamute pala ako, nakamute. Sorry. So kung may tanong kayo, comment down below. Ano lang, grabe no, tatanggalin ko yung sarili ko sa sa pagiging affiliate ng other exchanges, no. Hindi ko tinitira or hindi ko dinidiscuss itong problema ni CZ dahil I'm promoting other exchange. Hindi, regardless 'yon. Para sa akin, sana maayos. Sana maayos ito. Sana magkaroon tayo ng mas maayos na, sabihin na nating, pananaw in terms of crypto. Kasi magulo eh. Magulo ngayon ang crypto world. Sa totoo lang, ang mga tao, lalo na dito sa abroad, no? Mga tao sinasabi, cancel nyo na, tanggalin nyo na si Binance, namimera lang yan sa atin. Siguro I'll have another live on that, Miranda. Okay, ang daming comment. Thank you sa mga nag-comment. Yep, monetary policy hawkish. When you say hawkish, itong taong ito ay gusto ng interest rate na tumaas. Eh di ba nga may history si Trump, baka daw maulit. Hindi nyo ba alam na ang nag-appoint diyan kay Powell is si Trump mismo? Oh. So natakot yung market, baka maulit. Baka maulit din nangyari kay Powell na 'di ba? Baka maulit lang yung sinasabi na inassign mo diyan tapos ayaw pala sa iyo. Kaya ganoon ang tao nagalit talaga. Okay, salamat. Thank you sa mga good comments. Salamat po. Thank you Kuya Angelito sa mga type ng number 1. Final, hindi pa final 'yon. Let's wait for the final words. Alam mo, Kuya Trump, marami pwedeng mangyari, no? Thank you, Miranda. Paano pag rumekta? Di maganda, buy na ano, di ba? Kasi, ito kahit naman din ako hindi naman ako bida-bida na puro ko profit. Hindi. Siyempre yung mga holdings ko pulahan din. Ano ka ba? Di ba? Kung hindi ka pulahan ngayon, hindi ka invested. Di ba? Hindi ka invested. Di ba? Ibig sabihin, wala kang mga hawak. O, di pati mga altcoins ko pula din naman Di ba? But if you believe, nasa sa inyo yan, if you believe on the use case, the future, parang ganito yan. Wait lang. Parang ganito yan. Kung naniwala kayo sa akin nung 15,000 si Bitcoin, nung walang naniniwala sa Bitcoin, di sana profitable kayo ngayon. Di ba? Ganun din. 4 years ago, ang presyo ng, grabe, tagal ko na nagla-live. Grabe naman kasi sinasabi ko, 4 years ago talaga. Imagine mo, parang kami na lang ng Tito Vlog sa atin nagla-live ng araw-araw Di ba? Sa tagal-tagal ng panahon, parang kami na lang po talaga yung natira. Kaya ganun na ako magsalita, 4 years ago. So 4 years ago, ang presyo ng Bitcoin, 15,000. O parang ganun lang yon kung 35, di ba? May mga ganun talaga pababa. Normal yan. Ngayon, kung di mo kayang tanggapin yung gaba ng market, hindi ka para sa Bitcoin. At huwag mo ilalagay sa crypto yung pinangutang mong perang pang-enroll sa anak mo at pang-tuition fee ng anak mo at pang-dinner nyo bukas. Mali yun. Hindi quick money, quick rich money ang crypto. Sige. Hindi, yung sinabi niya, yung sinabi ni Wei, tama yung sinabi niya, kailangan mag-take accountability sila. Kailangan ayusin nila yung perspective, yung perception ng tao. Diba? Yes, noted. Tinetesting ko lang kayo. Nakamute daw si Coach Miranda. Nice sambak. Hindi, uy, ingat kayo sa kaka-bandwagon sa kanya kasi feeling ko yung iba dyan, talagang ginagawa lang para gibain sila. 'Di ba? Pag nagiba ang Binance, iba pa din kung magiba ang Binance. Wag naman sana. Kaya lang ayusin nila 'yan. Kasi 40% ng market share kanila pa din. 'Di ba? Yes, oo, gold po is Ma'am Shara, taga London to. Kita-kits tayo tomorrow Ma'am Shara. Sige. Meron pa din. Gold kasi is a different asset class than Bitcoin. Meron pa din. Walang pala si XRP, kabilang 15. Alam mo, like what I said, meron pa din pero hindi na lahat ng altcoin na aakyat. Yes, napanood ko na yan. Updated dong si no? Updated si Leo Tuazon. Oo. Oo, sana maganda weather, medyo. Yes, look for opportunity. Tama. O sige. Alright, as promise made, promise kept, nag-charting si Coach Miranda So, abang-abang tayo kasi mag-o-open ng US market, baka hilahin pababa ulit kasi doon maraming volume na mangyayari. Sana mangyari kabaliktaran, kabaliktaran in a sense that the market is priced in, therefore, buy the dip na laga. Sila, di maganda na mag-reverse ang market. Alright, sige. Maraming salamat. Thank you for watching for the whole 1 hour of our show today. They were trying to become a UK speaking. It's a bloody hell of a show. And thank you very much for you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching Coach Miranda today. Maraming po salamat ulit. I love you 3,000 at maraming salamat. Tune in kayo sa ating show every day. Please click on like, subscribe, and of course, follow Coach Miranda. Cheers, mate. Thank you. Bye, Philippines and the whole world. I'm enjoying here in London, mate. All right, mate. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Subscribe, like, follow, and share. Sige na please, Ka Miranda.